here. What's up, everybody? It's Tom Holland's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the SH Figuarts Spider-Man Homecoming, and he's really cool, but he has a number of accessories, and I have a couple of complaints, so let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, he has this little panel on his back that I will try to use a tool to get out. And that reveals a port. Now you can use a Bondi stand to plug into his back, but of course it doesn't come with the figure, which is a bit of a bummer. But there is this peg on his backpack, which you can then insert. I don't know exactly how to. Let me see if I can't. There we go. Get his backpack on, and then that will actually plug into his back, making for a pretty solid connection. Once I get it, there it is. Oh, and the straps do come loose, but you don't need them. They go on fine. And then you have Spidey with a backpack. The backpack itself is sculpted well, and then has a couple little black paint accents throughout, and that's about all there is to report. He comes with a cell phone, but it just has a blue screen on it, so the Spider-Gwen from Reveltech, which I'm not sure if that video has come up yet, but that blows this out of the water, unfortunately. And then he does have a holding hand for it, and I got to turn backwards, but you should be able to get the point. He can hold it just fine. He comes with a nice array of hands. We saw the two fist hands in the opening footage, and then we have two kind of thumbs up hands slash holding hands, two wall crawling hands, two phone holding hands, two relaxed hands, two like hang loose hands, and then two web shooting hands. All detailed the same. We'll talk about them when we get to them. And what good are hands if you can't use web effects? So we have these two, one short, one's long. They both operate the same way. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then this one, which he can hold in the gripping hand. And the way to do the effect is to take this hand off, and then you put this. Oh, I broke it. No, I didn't. It just pegs in. But that, be careful of that. That's no good. I've never had that happen with an SH Figuarts before. So use caution. That is really unfortunate. So there we go. And then you slide this on here onto the peg, and then you use this to tab into the peg, and then you can rotate them around as needed, and you can get the shooting effect. So then in the end, you can have something like that. For those that are curious, this is a Figma Stand, and the plug on a Figma Stand plugs right into the back, so it'll work just fine if you have an extra Figma Stand lying around. And, you know, you can get some cool poses out of them. And then lastly, it comes with a couple different eye options. One's like a more serious eye expression, the other one's like almost squinting. And then you just take the head off, and inside, I don't know if you can see that, there's little pegs, and they give you a tool, and then you can just push down on the peg and that pops the eye out. But these are the eyes that I actually want to use, so I won't be doing that. And for a point of reference, that's what the cap looks like underneath, where you slide the head on and off, so it's no big deal to take it on and off. And let's take a look at the figure. So it's all digitally sculpted, like the suit and stuff, and it looks really good. It lacks that kind of, you know, that more intimate hand-sculpted finish, but it's ultimately super effective. The head is really well done. The lines on the suit, it looks like, are sculpted. It might just be paint, but it looks like it's sculpted. And then, of course, there's like this silver, white, almost paint on the eyes itself, and then the black plastic for the black around the eye, and then this darker maroon or for the webbing. Now, as you saw, this here is on a double ball peg, but it does hinder the articulation a little bit from the head to the neck, which is a slightly disappointing. So you don't really get anything there, and you get a little bit up, and then you get the swivel, so that's fine. You get a double ball peg from the neck into the chest, it feels like, but it might be a single, I can't tell. It might just be a really well done single. The webbing is done the same. Outside of that, nothing really interesting to report, but range of motion wise, you get down to there, up to there, and then you can get to the side and all sorts of stuff. But it is a little bit limited in the head to neck department. Moving down, we have the butterfly joint, like an old school butterfly joint, and it looks really good. You get all the way, you can get the arms almost all the way across his body by manipulating the joint there. No problem. And you can see how far the butterfly joint comes out. So really well done. And then it's a disc hinge for a shoulder. You have to kind of move the shoulder around the butterfly joint piece and then move the butterfly joint to get the arms out to close to 90 degrees. But I mean, it's close enough, I think, but it's definitely not perfect. And that's moving underneath the butterfly joint. So there's no thigh, I mean, no bicep swivel, but you do get a swivel at the shoulder, which helps. And then there's no swivel at the elbow either. Oh, you do get it. You do get it at the forearm, so that should help. It looks like, yeah, you can get it at the elbow also, but you'll lose the double jointed elbow, which is a really stiff joint, but it gets a full range. Now, for the detailings wise, the webbing and stuff is the same. We do have black paint applied, and I believe blue paint applied, and it's done sharp and clean. For the forearm, once again, it's the black and blue paint applied, and it looks really good. And then we have these extra gauntlets. They're floating, so you can move them around. They have little indentations, so it can apply for, it can help you out with getting the hand in different poses and then the webbing out of the way. So that's ultimately a good thing. And then the hands are all sculpted the same with that one black stripe on the palm. This arm is exactly identical. Double ball peg from the chest into the abdomen, but it's not the greatest range. And then you have it feels like a double ball peg. It might be a single from the abdomen into the pelvis. Ultimately, you get over to there, but you kind of want a bit more. When you go to pose them, you'll see you kind of want a bit more. And then you get back to there. And then, you know, you get your sassy Spider-Man and your swivel at both sides. Then you have this floating belt piece, which just sort of hides the guts of the figure, and then you have this piece underneath that's just like the butt and the pelvis, which is a little off-putting, like it looks like he's wearing a thong, but at the same time, it allows for this whole hip to move and stay relatively seamless, which does add a lot to the articulation. But before we get there, let's talk about the spider, which is sculpted and painted. All the line work here is all sculpted and painted, both on the blue and the red, and it looks really good. Now, so you rotate this whole piece here, and that allows you to get the leg all the way up to there, which is very nice. And then outward on this universal joint, almost the full Van Damme. And I wonder if we rotate this up, and then swivel at the thigh, you pretty much get the whole Van Damme. So no complaints there, all the way back to there. So full Monty, full Van Damme, no issues whatsoever. You have a thigh swivel. It is a bit tight on this side. This side's a lot looser. Sculpting wise, it's all the same. It's that digital sculpt for the suit texture, and then on top of that are these lines that are, I'm assuming, digitally sculpted as well, and then they're all painted black, and it looks really clean. Double jointed knee, and it looks great. It's one of the better knees I've seen. And then we have the boots, which are sculpted, painted, and all really well done. And then we have disc hinges for the foot, and it swivels on it to get you the rocker, and it's a good angle for the swivel, so the rocker is pretty much impeccable. And then ankle tilt all the way up to there, all the way down to there, and then a toe hinge with some additional paint and sculpt work on the boot itself, and it follows through underneath. Real quick look at the back of the figure. Really interesting approach and pretty well done. Just a few articulation hindrances that seem ultimately annoying on a character like Spider-Man. And there he is with my ever-growing movie Avengers shelf. Looking good. Final thoughts wise, a really great effort. My main complaints are the webbing is a little goofy. I mean, it ultimately does its job, but it's not perfect, you know what I mean? And then I wish there was a little bit of a better range between the head and the neck, and a little bit of better range throughout the torso. I think that would have lent itself to a much more dynamic poses. Recently, I've really been enjoying taking a look at some of these Marvel and DC figures. My kids have really been getting into superheroes recently. They've just been watching the old school Fox X-Men. I know you're all thinking it. And they've also been watching Justice League and Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers series, and a lot of that stuff, Wolverine, the X-Men, etc., etc. So we've really been enjoying them. My kids have been learning a lot about superheroes, which has been fun to kind of talk to them about, and it's amazing kind of what they're picking up. Tell me about her real quick.
Her mind goes crazy.
But yeah, for the most part, the articulation is great. For the most part, you should be able to achieve all the poses you'd like. The accessories are great. The hand options are great. Sculpt is wonderful. Paint is on point. Materials feel good per usual. Another really solid effort from SH Figuarts. Not the best, not as good as it possibly could have been. You know, if they would have done away with the eye gimmick, I think you would have been able to get out more of the articulation in the head, but what are you going to do? They can't all be home runs, but this is at least a solid triple. sports. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.